your role models, of course, but why is it so important to you to take that high road?
Because kids are watching us. You know, if I have to boil it down to anything, it's because we are role models. And it's not me, I don't mean just you and me, Barack, people that are on TV and hold places of power. Children watch everything we do. They're watching the person right in front of them. And they take this all in. And modeling how you want kids to react is what I think about. I mean, I think about my children when I respond and how we approach issues. And I also think about, well, what are we actually trying to do? You know, when you go low, oftentimes going low means you're acting from a place of ego. You know, you're really just satisfying your immediate need to lash out. And rarely does that connect to a solution. And Barack is always, you know, that motto is his motto. I say that because that's how Barack operates. I mean, there are so many times when I just want him, like I know all of you, to just curse them out. Just say these things. And he's like, well, that's not the point. You know, the president isn't the president for his own ego. The president is the president for the entire country. So we have to be very mindful of what we say and how we say it. But that doesn't mean going high doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge the pain, which is why I talk about the fact that when people say mean things, it hurts. And I don't want kids going around thinking that, you know, when a bully hits you, it's okay to say it hurts because it hurts. And that may help you get through it, but how you react to that hurt is really where going high comes in. You don't stoop to their level. You know, you have to stay above the fray. So that's how we learn to operate. That's one of the ways we existed in the toxic climate that has become, sadly, our politics. But we have a choice in what we decide to accept as a people. We're now living in an example of you've seen going high and you've seen going low. And the question that we have to ask ourselves is, which feels better? You know, what world do we want to live in? What world do we want our kids to grow up in? And we think about as parents, what do we teach our kids? When somebody punches you in the face, you punch them even harder. Yes, some people say that, but that doesn't help them in the moment. They have to figure out how to work through those issues. So we have to think about how we want to raise our kids, the examples that we want to set. And I think that my husband, he has made me so proud. And it's been hard we haven't had much time to reflect over these 8 years because we were so busy doing and so busy trying to be perfect and to get everything right that rarely did we have time to sit back and acknowledge what we've done. And I was able to do that with my husband just the other night and just look at him and say, man, you did this. You did this. You did one of the hardest jobs on the planet.
What did he do? Did he do a good job or what? Well, speaking of your husband, we have a special guest.
concert. For you.
Good. How are you?
She's making so much sense.
Taking notes upstairs,
I
you
was
were listening.
listening.
So
I
since
mean,
you're
there are a couple of things I would correct,
You don't have to do that here. It's
but
my book,
that's my book.
my version of reality.
We have to drive home together.
Since you're here, though, since you're here, I feel like since I'm the moderator and I'm asking questions, I might ask you one. Is that all right? You have always said to me, outside of your wife's presence, that she's extraordinary. Can you give us a sense? She told us a bit about falling in love with you. What is it that captivated your heart, and how has she evolved and become the woman she is today through your eyes?
All right, so you're going to hear my version of the meeting. So sit down, feel free, because I'm going to take just a little bit of time. But first of all, so she had her version about how we had that phone call, and she thought I was nerdy, and she didn't say that they had attached a photograph for the summer associates, but like I didn't know where to take a picture, so I went to what was it, Walgreens or something, someplace where they had a photo booth, you know, and I just took one, and the camera, I think I was too close to it, so my nose was really big, and yeah, the lighting wasn't great.
It wasn't a good
It
book.
wasn't a good thing. So I understand why she wasn't impressed. Now my thinking was, I'm reading this at Princeton, Harvard, and we get on the phone, and she's very proper. Because, as she mentioned,
I'm at work.
she was very much in her, business, wilderness, lawyer mode. So she's all like, well, we're really looking forward to having you here, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, she seems a little uptight. That was my impression. Now, what is true is I was late and I was wet, as I said. So I'm having to eat a little crow, and I walk in, and she walks out, and first of all, she's really tall, and most of it is legs. So I just want to make
All
that.
right, children are here.
I'm just saying, she was impressive. So she was much cuter than I had expected, and very tall. Did I tell you she was tall? Yeah, very tall. But what is also true, and I heard you say this, and this I can attest to. You know how you meet somebody and you feel like, all right, they get it, or at least they get how you see things. And so once we were together, and she had closed the door, and so she wasn't acting, all night. And we could just kind of talk and be relaxed right away. Obviously she was extraordinarily smart, beautiful, she had this great sense of humor, great storyteller, you guys, as you are here. But there was also a sense of depth, because even though I didn't know the full story at that point, you could tell this was somebody who had a story behind the surface that was powerful. So it's true, I just kept on asking her out. And she had to, let me say this whole mentor thing.
That's what it was called.
So the way this works is in these law firms, because Michelle had gone straight through school, I had worked, so she was younger than me, and we get there. And basically what happens with summer associates, when they're trying to recruit, they assign somebody who's like taking you out to lunch and showing you where the Xerox machine is. So it wasn't like that serious. But she bought somehow she would be taking advantage of me. So I was all like, what's the big deal? Why don't we just go out? She said, no, that wouldn't be appropriate. And I don't know if you remember that. I actually said, well, I'll quit the job. And then we can go out. There will not be a conflict of interest. So basically I wore her down. And, but here's the main point I think I want to make, is that during that summer, even while she was, pushing off, and it's true, she's trying to send me out with some of her friends who I was not interested in at all. But, that's okay.
Don't go there.
I'm not. But the thing that what they missed right there was like those long pauses. Remember how he used to not finish his thought really quickly? He used to do that all the time on TV. But the thing that I remember during that summer, as we became friends, before she finally relented to a date, was she was one of a kind. I hadn't met somebody who was that strong and that honest, and somebody who I just felt was a rock, was somebody who I knew at that point I would always be able to count on. And that somebody who, if she was the mother of my children, I knew my children would turn out to be extraordinary. And this is important, I knew she would challenge me. Because I think that the one thing for me that I always understood was that whatever marriage, whatever partnership, was going to work, it couldn't be one that was just one-sided. And I did have a pretty clear sense of where I was going. And I wanted somebody there who would call me when I was wrong and would push me if I was falling short. And boy, did she do that. And I will say, over the course of our marriage, there have been, like every marriage, we had tough times, we argued. There's never been a point in which that core thing I saw ever wavered, where I was ever disappointed, where I wasn't completely in awe of her talents and gifts, and so that's how you get through the bumps and difficulties, is when you see the other person, you're absolutely convinced, that person remains as extraordinary, as one of a kind, as I thought she was way back when.